Hey Curtis, how are ya?
I'm good. How are you doing, Sue?
Good. Long time since we've chatted. Your channel's had incredible growth, eh?
I've been uh, I've been working at it. It slowed down a little bit there last year, but
Well, you're
yeah,
over 10,000, aren't you? What are you at?
yeah, yeah. I passed 10,000 in January. Yeah,
It's amazing. I mean, all those Gary Vaynerchuk's of the world say if you have 10,000 followers, you have a business, like period. That's
yeah.
that's the sweet spot. So good for
Well,
you. Awesome.
it's a good start. Yeah, it's something you can definitely build on top of, right?
Yeah.
It's just it's one of those little milestones.
A
I
big one.
definitely was.
Good.
Yeah,
Let's get into it.
yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Where are you now? Is this Toronto?
Yeah, it's in Toronto.
Yeah. How's the weather there?
I mean, it's actually not too bad today, but it's certainly no Miami. Jamie and I were in Miami last week for a conference, or 2 weeks ago, and it was so nice.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's good to actually be able to get some of that travel. I know you guys have been doing a lot of that too. You guys going to the conference this year?
We're going to all the conferences this year. You got to hustle, man. We got a story to tell, and we're hustling. We're ready to hustle. So,
All right, let's get into this.
yeah.
Yeah, you guys have had since the last time I've actually talked with you guys. There's been a lot of developments. You guys have done a whole ton of work. So yeah, there's lots to talk about. I guess first off, the you guys have announced the third site that's going to be developed in North Bay. Was it?
Yeah, North Bay, Ontario. So just for your audience, for anyone who might be new, because you have a lot of new followers. So Hut 8, we're one of the oldest and largest digital asset miners in the world. And we've got 109 megawatts in production in Alberta, Ontario. We love Alberta. And yeah, we've got a third site and an extra 35 megawatts that we're standing up, aiming for the end of this quarter, and then an extra 100 megawatts. Oh, sorry, of that 35, an additional 65 will be stood up for sure this year, is what we're projecting. Yeah.
So, what do you stand right now as far as projections and hash rate? Because obviously, megawatts and hash rate, depending on the type of mix of equipment you've got in there, has a pretty big impact there.
Yeah, for sure. So we are projecting 3.35 by the end of this quarter, and we're still confident with our 6 exahash by the middle of this year. We haven't changed that projection yet. I think, though, again, for Hut 8 and your viewers, one of the things that is extremely different about how Hut 8 runs our business is we're extremely focused on diversification, and we're OG Bitcoin miners and hodlers. So we're one of the original hodlers in the space. We have over 5,826 Bitcoin in inventory, self-mined, not bought in the market. But we recently bought the data centers off of a publicly traded company called TeraGo about 2 weeks ago. And we're really excited about this because, we believe if you believe in Bitcoin, if you believe in blockchain, if you believe how disruptive this technology is going to be for, a plethora of different paradigms, it doesn't just stop at mine and hodl. Like, what's next, right? Like, what are you going to do once you've hodled all the Bitcoin? So this is my long-winded spiel about how these data centers, we now have 400 traditional enterprise commercial customers in the data center space. So a completely uncorrelated business that is accretive to our business. So no matter what direction Bitcoin's taking, we're making money in this business, in the traditional data center space. But in the data center space, normally there's about 40% of white space that an underutilized capacity in the actual structure itself. And that's either a company is waiting for a customer to come in or a customer has just left. And so what we're planning on doing is building like platform as a service. So we're going to fill that white space with GPU miners, with infrastructure to support a lot of these budding use cases in the Web3, in the blockchain ecosystem, especially in the blockchain gaming space. Because again, we know our shareholders believe in Bitcoin and blockchain, and that's what we're going to keep doing. But we also think there's so much opportunity to build out effectively like the Amazon Web Services of Web 3.0. So that's what's new about our business that we're really excited about, and that we recently announced 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I was following that announcement. I figured it had something to do with the approach that you guys have been maintaining, diversifying your cash flow,
Yeah.
so that it makes your model more sustainable. Where you always have, like you said, you always have that income coming in, which means your model is sustainable.
Yeah, because a lot of some of our look, we're friends with a lot of our competitors in the space, and they're very great business people. But when you're a single threaded Bitcoin miner, your only option is to raise money, regardless of what the market's doing, or sell your Bitcoin. And we don't think that that's a sustainable business model if you're thinking long term about this being a real asset class and truly disruptive technology. And we also want our investors to be able to capitalize on the growing adoption of this space and the real maturation of this space. Like the blockchain gaming industry in and of itself, I think in Q3, the blockchain gaming industry earned something like $2.2 billion. So we're excited about, because we're infrastructure operators, to be able to keep growing as this technology and adoption grows as well.
That's interesting, because it's something that a lot of people have been beginning to ask that question. What's the long-term vision? Because like you said, it's not a sustainable model to just where you have that single threaded business model where it's just mine Bitcoin and then yeah, there are other things. Yeah, maybe there's yield you can earn off that Bitcoin, but you guys were, I think, the first ones to do that. Yeah. And borrowing against it, you were also the first ones to do that. So I think this is another example of you guys looking ahead, blazing that trail, and then everyone else seems to follow behind.
We'll see, but we sort of look at it as like, if Bill Gates had just stopped at the personal computer, Microsoft wouldn't be what it is today. Like it wouldn't. And
that's a good analogy.
And what's different about Jamie, our CEO as an operator, forget about the fact she's like the only female CEO in the space. Who cares? I mean, that's great, but that's not what's exciting about her, in my opinion. She's been in the traditional high performance compute space for over 20 years. No other CEO in this space brings that operational lens or is able to bridge the gap and see the opportunity the way that she can. Like, she's the one who came up with the idea that, like, wait a minute, Web 2, Web 3, this infrastructure can actually be used for that infrastructure. And again, like, I'm excited because I hope we have some serious big plans, but it comes from the fact that we have a CEO and a leader who's got that operational lens. She didn't just come into the bull market seeing sexy margins and hoping to, like, clip.
Yeah, her background is in data centers. That's exactly. She spent a lot of time running those types of businesses. So it's one that she understands, obviously, inside and out.
Yeah.
So it's exciting to see how that develops. I guess obviously there's a lot of other nuances I'm sure you guys are talking about internally, but I think this gives viewers a fairly decent idea of what the intent here is to invest in the next thing, like where this space is going. So yeah, believers in Web3. So you guys are definitely, you're not just Bitcoiners. You're looking at the entire space and saying, okay, mining Bitcoin is a platform to build on top of, but it's kind of like the space is defined in that way where you have base layers and you have layers that get built on top.
Exactly.
And you guys want to be integrated into every one of those layers.
A full integration stack is what we're looking at. Like, we're Bitcoin bulls who are incredibly bullish on blockchain. So
I like it. I like that. It's definitely one thing I like about this is you have a lot of different strategies across the spectrum, and you gotta get whatever one fits into your worldview. You get to align yourself with those things, rather than just everyone that does the exact same thing. There's something that differentiates you from the others.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
So I was actually curious about your own personal story. Like I call it the Bitcoin origin story. Like, how did you find yourself in this?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking. So my background was actually in traditional financial services. I was working at investment asset manager on the sell side for quite some time, also in the retail and institutional side of the business as well. And it was about 2016, and I was literally dead inside. I was so just not excited or energized by my job, and just seeing how archaic some of the back end processes were that was running the financial services economy in Canada, like just how trades were settled and the faxes going through between departments. Like it just blew my mind. Anyway, so I started researching technology. I was like, what is gonna change these prehistoric processes? And that's when I learned about blockchain, learned about Bitcoin. People say fell down the rabbit hole. I think rabbit hole is overused. I'm going to say fell down the ferret funnel. I really got into it. And then, but it took me about a year after leaving financial services to convince some of the OGs in Toronto that I wasn't just another sort of like finance D-bag hopping on the bandwagon. So it took me a while to get into it in terms of get someone to freaking hire me. But yeah, then I got a job running the wealth desk. I was one of the first people hired at Coinsquare. So that was one of Canada's largest exchanges in 2017. And then, yeah, never looked back.
Yeah, well, Coinsquare, they're still, I use them. So it's definitely, I'm not sure where they are in the spectrum now, but
when we were there, so I joined in 2017. I was like hire number 11, and me and this guy Wojtek were tasked, and this guy Mike Nasser, who's got a really great letter, actually, he writes in crypto. We were basically tasked with building out like the wealth desk, like the high net worth corporate trading division of Coinsquare. But in 2017, we were like the only legit game in town. The only other competitor was like Quadriga.
Okay, yeah.
Right? Like, we know how that turned out.
Yeah, were you around were you working at Coinsquare when the Quadriga scandal happened?
No, I had moved on from Coinsquare and joined a decentralized open protocol identity blockchain company. But it was funny because it wasn't surprising when that Quadriga news came out, because when I was at Coinsquare, I had customers from Quadriga calling me being like, all right, so where do I drop the bag of cash? Bitch, I'm not taking a bag of cash from you. Like, are you crazy? Like, we have a little thing called compliance here. So we were like the only, like, I would say legit name in the game in 2017. But it was pretty wild because I joined when Bitcoin was at like $3,000, and then it went gangbusters.
So for anyone that might be wondering what we're talking about, the Quadriga was the largest exchange in Canada at the time, which went belly up because the owner died in India and was the only one who had the keys, quote unquote, to the hardware wallets. All the Bitcoin and crypto that was in cold storage gone. To this day, I don't think they've managed to recover any of the funds. No. They're even talking about exhuming his body to prove that he's actually dead. His
death certificate came from a province in India that was notorious for issuing bogus death certificates, and he managed to have the foresight to plan his dog's estate, like if he were to
die, yeah, I heard about this too.
But he didn't have a plan for the keys to the castle. You know, I mean, it is a little suspect.
Millions of customers, Bitcoin, and you couldn't be bothered to protect that, but you managed to take care of your dog.
Yeah, like a little sus. So.
Yeah. While, I mean, again, those are just more examples of, for me personally, I was going to go with them. I ended up with Coinsquare in the end, somewhat circumstantially. But when that happened, I bought a hardware wallet that day.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's it. I'm out. I am not taking these chances. But yeah, it was definitely for me that was stories like that, and it happened in Canada. Like you know, sometimes you hear about that happening, you know, previously, you know, people that got hit with Mt. Gox, but this was in Canada. I didn't expect to see that.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously lots have happened. I mean, everyone has that sort of origin, and because Bitcoin has had such a dramatic history, you know, I often remind people that think that, holding on to this, investing in this is easy. Obviously, we just, anyone that just got introduced to this in the last year knows it's not easy now.
Yeah.
But if you think this is hard, try living through those experiences. And
oh my God, or 2019, when you're working at a crypto or blockchain company and everyone thinks you're crazy, like that, that was really hard. But obviously, sticking to your conviction about just how disruptive this technology really is panned out for all of us. So
yeah. So back to Hut. One of the things that sets you guys apart as well is the way in which you acquire your Bitcoin. Because you guys mentioned that you have all your Bitcoin is self-mined.
Yes.
However, there's a little caveat there because some of it is the result of mining Ethereum and then converting it into Bitcoin.
Correct.
Technically still mined, but yes.
We convert it on the pool level through Luxor mining.
Okay.
But yeah, about 16% of our production in January. So we mined 308 Bitcoin. 16% of that came from our mine Ethereum, but get paid out on the pool level in Bitcoin. And so that 16% was mined at less than $2,600 Canadian per coin.
Canadian. Oh, okay. I didn't know that was in Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
So when, we're all chasing the same output, right? And when Bitcoin trades sideways and you're very reliant on those sexy margins, again, diversification is the name of the game for Hut 8. And so we're really thrilled about this strategy paying off, especially given what the market's been doing. So
you're using like the state-of-the-art GPUs for that. They're not ASICs?
No, they're GPUs. So we have a robust ASIC lineup. But yeah, these are cutting edge GPUs that we got from Nvidia. We were only one of 3 customers globally who got this limited fleet of GPU miners. And we got it just because, back to Jamie's extraordinary background that's extremely unique in this space, she has these tremendous relationships with providers like Nvidia and Dell because she's been around for so long. So that's how we were able to get our hands on this very limited fleet. Anyways, it's effectively the Ferrari of GPUs. So, if Ethereum goes to proof of stake tomorrow morning, within 10 minutes, we can just pivot to the next most profitable chain. Right now, it seems to be Ethereum Classic. That was up 8% last week. I don't know why. I don't follow that project, but I mean,
yeah.
When I did look at it in 2019, it did look as though the governance, they couldn't sort out governance, but yeah, we can pivot.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting thing. Like me personally, like Ethereum mining is how I got into this space originally.
Yeah.
I recently exited. I sold my rig, and because I accomplished my goal with it. My goal originally was build the rig, mine the ETH, hodl it. I wanted 32 so that I could stake.
Awesome.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. Awesome.
So and it's interesting because of my, there's a lot of criticism about Ethereum. It's still one of my, I love it as much as I love Bitcoin. To me, they're very just different. They're not trying to solve the same problem. Yeah. But I acknowledge that, like, I think it would have been better for its legitimacy and its credence if everyone did what I did rather than the pre-mine. But, then, okay, well, how would they have funded all the development that needed to be done? It was a considerably more difficult protocol than Bitcoin was. If they had to do that by also mining it and then trying to fund I don't know how that would work. But I mean, it is what it is. The proof is in the pudding. Ethereum has been enormously successful, but obviously you guys are using it in order to just acquire additional Bitcoin at a lower cost basis because Ethereum is still the most profitable coin to mine.
But it's not just about that. Like, yes, that was our initial strategy, but again, back to not to drop another diversification bomb, we do like the idea of not just being single threaded. Like I said, we're Bitcoin bulls who are incredibly bullish on blockchain, but we also we are looking at, maybe there is a case where we hodl some Ethereum and play in the DeFi space. Our head of technology is a staking yield DeFi master, and there's billions locked in TVL on different chains that are being used in some of this decentralized lending and yield farming. So we like the ability to be agile and pivot, right? Like given how crazy this market is, but also given how much upside there is, we want to be able to pivot and be agile. So that's another reason why we bought these GPU miners.
Oh, that's interesting because, well, again, like on the Ethereum side, like I'm very involved in it. I run a validator, so
Awesome.
I'm right up to date with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
But what people don't realize is that, yeah, you look at yields on the staking on the Beacon chain, it's, you know, roughly 5%. It's, you know, a nice savings account, but it's not like the rest of DeFi that, you know, it can return substantially higher yield rates. But
Yeah.
what people don't realize is that when the merge happens, presumably this year, all the transaction fees that are paid to miners currently is suddenly going to go to the stakers.
Yeah.
And that is going to increase yields from 5% to closer to 30%
Yeah. For sure.
overnight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's going to be everyone thinks that all those stakers are going to start selling, but in fact, there's going to be a mad rush for more validators trying to enter to gain those kinds of yields, because
Yeah.
it's going to be insane. But the thing is that it's throttled. Both exits and entries into the Beacon chain are throttled. You can only 4 per epoch, so it's roughly, well, I did the math on this, half of all the validators was 150,000, would take roughly 6 months to exit or enter. If you wanted to have the same amount enter, it would take 6 months to onboard or offboard that number.
Interesting.
So it's
Fun fact. That's interesting.
it's something that I've been, like I said, been following, and it's not well understood because everyone thinks that all staking is the same, and Ethereum staking protocol is very different from the rest. Yeah. But again, we don't have to go down that road, but it is.
Well, I will tell you, I've definitely gone down the ferret funnel with Polygon, so like the Swiss Army knife of Ethereum. I'm love AVAX, and this is me personally. I'm not saying Hut 8. This is what Sue really likes. Yeah.
It gave me a good follow-up question because you guys are, you know, sort of partnered with, or a main investor of yours is Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah, we love Kevin.
And he is a big investor in Polygon and many other Web3 protocols. So I don't know what kind of access. I mean, you guys obviously talked to him. Or has conversations about any of that stuff come up?
Yeah, no. So I was mentioning, we were in Miami 2 weeks ago for a conference. Look, we're good friends with Kevin. We think he's great. We had lunch with Kevin. So we're always talking about ideas with him. And yeah, he's certainly bullish on sort of the Web3 DeFi, Ethereum killers, as they call them.
Yeah, well.
I mean, now we're going to kill Ethereum because, you know, they are going to sort out these transaction fees. But just to your point, there's a lot of really interesting projects out there. It's also crazy to see. So for example, Algorand is trading right now versus at my previous job, we actually met with the Algorand team and we were offered like, some sort of token swap. I think it was at 10 cents. And I was like, no, forget it. No. And now seeing where Algorand's trading now and just how successful that project has become, I definitely have foot and mouth syndrome and quite a bit of FOMO, but yeah, it's cool to see just the adoption and the maturation of the space.
Yeah, it's been like I've had a similar kind of experience because you get, you know, it's hard not to be ideologic when it comes to these things. Yeah. Passionate about your investments. We're all susceptible to it. I admire those that can look at things purely objectively and identify opportunities without being emotionally connected to them. It's very hard to do. But there's a lot of money to be made if you can do it. Objectively, but I mean, like I said, we're human beings. It's just hard. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I should have paid more attention to things like Solana and Algorand and even Binance. Like again, you could
BNB, yeah, like what?
Holy smokes! Like I did well, obviously. I mean, I can't complain, but it's like, well, maybe I should have put something over there when, or Polygon. I should have identified what that was going to become.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I mean, I'm starting to like, I'm not ignoring it now. I'm definitely paying attention to it and trying to, you know, just gain some exposure to that kind of stuff. Cause I do think it's the other, it's the other layers that are also going to be needed. And like you said, it's hard if you're going to get involved in this, you might as well pay attention to everything.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because it just moves so fast. And so you just need to stay on top of it.
I'm looking forward to the day when mining companies are more than just mining companies. I look at it like that HODL position. When you hold that much Bitcoin, when you look at it as a technology and not just property, as a lot of people refer to this, you realize that the capabilities that will afford you in the future, especially when you start having cross-chain bridges that are becoming more sophisticated and robust, very risky today.
Yeah.
As we just got proven yet again with another bridge. Yeah, the wormhole hack. Yeah. Again, like this is why you got to be careful what you engage in, and this is one of the reasons why I kind of let a lot of this other stuff go, is because you know, I want like DeFi. I never touched it because I'm like, I don't understand it well enough, and I keep hearing about these hacks. I don't want to end up rug pulled or my stuff just gone because of some bug. Right. Whereas if it's in my wallet, it's safe. Nobody can touch it.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So we'll see how it all goes. But I mean, yeah, there's benefits to being early, but yeah, there's also these kinds of risks, and people have to acknowledge it as experiments more so than investments.
I like that, experiments more so than investments. And also just putting your money where your mouth is. Like if you're really interested in this technology, like you should have a little bit of skin in the game. At least I think you should, because it helps you when you're actually sort of an owner in the paradigm, right? At least that's what I find. I pay much more attention now that I own Solana and I own Avex, that I own Matic. So.
But I guess where would you put yourself in the spectrum? I mean, like, because you're obviously not Bitcoin only. So you're not a maximalist.
So HUT8 is Bitcoin only right now.
Yes.
No, I'm not a Bitcoin maxi. I'm not a Bitcoin maxi, which is probably going to piss off half your audience.
hey, well, I'm not either. So, I get, yeah.
No, go. What were you going to say?
No, I'm just I don't get a lot of pushback, but for most people, they know where I stand when it comes to this kind of stuff. I am definitely in this for the technology and the excitement that goes along with it. And if you're only Bitcoin,
you're missing out on like birth of all these crazy new use cases. So
it's like you said, like, I mean, it's like where you were before your previous roles, where like it's just like where hope goes to die. Like when you get up in the morning and it's just like it's filled with excitement and anticipation and like things that just keep happening in the space. It's definitely not boring.
It's also, I mean, again, not that I look to what is the Bank of America saying in terms of before I make an investment. That's not part of my due diligence process. But it was interesting to see, I think it was 3 weeks ago, the Bank of America basically issued a paper that was saying they see Solana as being like the MasterCard or Visa of Web3, just because its ability to handle transactions is so, and for low cost is so tremendous. So yeah, it's just a lot of fun.
There's a lot of attention. Actually, I'm interested to hear your take on recent events that I've been caught up in personally. With the Newminer announced by Newminer.
I haven't watched your video yet on it. It's on my to-do list. Yeah, let's talk.
You've seen it. Yeah. I'm assuming by now you've heard the response from the company that where that they basically copied. The image that they used was of a different company's product. It's not a miner. It's something else entirely. Yeah. And they passed it off as their own. So Yeah, it's I've been trying to get. I've been reached out to the company. Have discussed it with them. They were supposed to come on the channel yesterday,
Really?
but then they canceled and
Do you think it's
postponed.
Elizabeth Holmes 2.0? Do you think this is Elizabeth
I
2.0? Does the machine actually exist? What do you think?
I don't know. I'm reserving judgment. They have doubled down on their stance or their position that yes, this is a real machine. And I mean, this is a big deal because we're talking, Sphere 3D and the Griffin merger is all tied to this. I mean, the price surged like 46% up to a high, something around there, on the day that this thing was announced.
Cash is no joke. Like, yeah, it's.
Well, I think it was 26 or 24.6 or 26.4 exahash per second in this one order.
Yeah.
It is unreal. I mean, it changes the game as far as just that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's one of the I guess you can call it the red flag. One of the red flags that, where does this company come from? How are they able to do this when no one else can?
Elizabeth Holmes raised $6 billion. Some people are really good at sales. So look, I'm not saying that they're BS. I honestly don't know, but I think it's interesting.
So that's one of the things I was going to see. Like, I mean, you guys being somewhat well connected. I mean, when an announcement like that comes out, there's a new player in town that apparently has got the industry leading miner. Does Hut reach out and try to get some information on this?
Yeah, of course. If there's a new sheriff in town, we obviously want to make sure we know the sheriff. We want to know the new players. But look, we're very strategic about when we make investments in equipment, why we make investments in the equipment that we do. And we are pretty confident that you're going to see quite a few new players hit the scene this year. So.
Well, I know Intel's coming.
Yeah.
So that's also going to be an interesting one when we find out what the specs are on Intel's ASIC.
We're really excited about that one.
Yeah.
Conference, which I think is actually next week, but that'll be really interesting.
Yeah, I'm definitely. My eyes are peeled for that one when it comes out. I mean, like I said, like this, it's impossible to be bored when you're in this space.
Oh yeah.
I can.
Is the same.
No, and you can't keep up. Like even if I wanted to cover all this stuff, it's too much. Yeah. It's just too much. But at least, like I said, it has the benefit of just keeping you entertained on the edge of your seat.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, let's move on to, I guess, let's see what's coming next down the pipe for Hut. What? Because right now we've talked about where you guys see yourself by the end of this year. Mm-hmm. You guys have been making moves with acquisitions and more diversification. I guess is there you guys have like a roadmap for like, say, the next 5 years or, the next two halvings? Like what's the plan?
So we're certainly building that out because like I said, this recent data center acquisition is certainly different from a diversification perspective than what we've traditionally looked at from a diversification perspective. It's a completely uncorrelated business, but it still capitalizes on the acceleration of digitalization and adoption of digital trends. So look, I'm just personally really excited for us to build what I hope is the Amazon web for Web3. For blockchain infrastructure, for gaming in the blockchain space. There's just so much opportunity in ways that we can use this infrastructure that we now own. So I can't really give you insight as to a specific roadmap. We're certainly got some exciting, announcements on the horizon, and then we'll let you guys know when we can, but we're really excited about what we're going to build out here. I mean, effectively, we're going to be the first real bridge between Web 2 and Web 3 and like bridging traditional with nascent iterations of high performance compute. And so the amount of use cases and upside that you can capture when you're focused on that side of this industry, we think is like the sky's the limit. So
I'm interested to get your take on, because now that you guys are that have that diversification using GPUs as well as ASICs. I guess because there's one risk associated with that, in that when mining ends on Ethereum, I mean, the hash power on Ethereum compared to all the other GPU mineable coins, it's just phenomenal. Like, there is an enormous I believe that if you add up all the hash power on the next, I think, 10 coins that are GPU mineable, Ethereum eclipses that.
Yeah. So we think, though, if Ethereum goes to proof of stake, that actually is going to cause create a rally in those altcoins that can still be hashed with or mined with GPU miners. We actually think there is a bull case for those altcoins.
And I guess Ethereum Classic is, like you said, it is going to be the front runner. But I mean, it's basically Ethereum as it is now, and some people believe it always should have been, to be always GPU mineable. And they've taken steps to make sure that it maintains its ASIC resistance. They even forked away from the mining protocol that Ethereum is on right now, the Ethash. They forked away from that. So the ASIC miners that currently mine Ethereum will not be able to be used on the Ethereum Classic, even though they were once the same protocol. So I know that that's one thing that Ethereum Classic has made a priority, is to maintain that ASIC resistance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see how that develops. And you're right, there could be, I mean, there could be.
I don't feel like all these people who invested in GPU miners and invested time and resources, I don't think they're just going to roll over and die if Ethereum goes to proof of stake. Like, I just don't think that. But again, what do I know? But we just see a potential upside for the other coins based on.
Yeah. Otherwise, you guys, I believe I've heard it discussed with regards to other alternative use cases for those GPUs, for machine learning and that sort of thing, because I know that they're used in data centers for that purpose. And seeing as how you guys are also now invested in the higher tier level data centers,
tier 0 to tier 3.
I mean, I would imagine a tier 3. I'm assuming, I don't know as much about the space as you or indeed Jamie, but would that be sufficient enough to be able to facilitate those kinds of services?
Absolutely. So even things like, for example, so I think I mentioned on this, sorry, I've been doing YouTubes all day. I think I mentioned on this episode that 10% of our clients our customers that we acquired are actually in the gaming and special effects space. So when you're producing a movie, like, have you seen the movie, what's that movie with Matthew McConaughey, Interstellar?
Yep. Yeah, the wormhole
thing. Star Wars. Yeah. So, or Dune. I love Dune. The most recent Dune that came out was so good. Anyhow,
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh my God, it's excellent. You have to. I can't believe you haven't seen it yet. It's excellent.
A bit busy.
So here's an example of how a data center helps, for example, like a massive movie production. So movie producers have one of two choices. You can either do an extremely, when you're doing the final render, so that interstellar scene when Matthew McConaughey's running through the portals, or in Dune when the sandworms are going through the desert, that takes a tremendous amount of compute to make those images happen. And there's two choices right now. You can either use a very expensive SaaS-based model where you have to do full software as a service with an Amazon Web or a Google Cloud, or you keep your own servers in-house, and they're extremely expensive to maintain, and you only really use them like once every 6 months for a whole 72 hours of intense compute when you're doing your final stage of rendering. And so that's where these mid-tier, tier 0 to 3 data centers come in. The ones that we just bought is the ability for a customer like a movie producer to come in, and we already have a special effects client, to come in, do that 72 hours of heavy compute, and then just get out. So it's almost like compute on demand, flexible load compute on demand. But again, it's not just limited to the traditional industries like movie production or traditional gaming. Like this is now crossing over into the blockchain space, and we're going to be the picks and shovels and the infrastructure providers for all those use cases.
So this is interesting because I've been trying to educate myself on the blockchain gaming side of things. It's still extremely early days.
Yeah.
Like that's super wild west at this point. But
Sure.
But most of the games, I mean, let's face it, they all look like Minecraft. You know, they're not exactly beautifully rendered. But I start to wonder, okay, like, is that potentially somehow going to be another use case for all these GPUs that are massively distributed, where they could somehow compensate miners to also take on the task of rendering images in these real-time virtual worlds?
So I had an interesting call with a developer the other day who was talking about how, and I'm probably going to butcher this because I don't know enough about the Nvidia gaming world.
Don't, me neither.
Okay, good. So someone can just troll us about it in the comments. Yeah. So he was saying that he was building his own game, and he was on Steam, which is connected, which he can do through Nvidia's CPUs and GPUs. And in order for him to finish his last bit of render for the game he was building, there was a queue of like 200 to 300 people in like waiting to do the final rendering on the Steam network. And so that there is a need and a use case for offloading some of the backlog that's even happening in the traditional gaming space. So I guess that was my long-winded answer of yes, we think that that is a budding use case as well.
Yeah, it's like I said, I don't know enough about the technology and how it's being developed, but it's one of those things where, you know, these things are real time. I think that's why they look the way that they do, is because they're real time rendered things. And if you're playing that on your phone, you've only got so much processing power to bring to bear. But if that was somehow pre-rendered for users, I don't know. Like they're probably missing a key factor here. But it just seems to me like that could be something where all of these GPUs that are going to be out there could find a new lease on life. Yeah. That maybe that could be something where it could be diverted. Hard to say, but I mean, like I said, I mean, this is changing very, very fast, and all we could do is try to keep up.
True, and again, and then, but also as an operator in this space, and a company who's here for the long term and the long game, this is why agility, diversification, and being able to pivot is we think really important. Or not pivot, but having flexibility in terms of the opportunity that you can capture.
What's the biggest thing you guys are working on right now? As far is it just the new site over in North Bay, or
yeah,
I guess what's your primary focus right now?
Well, the primary focus right now is, I mean, we now have 400 commercial customers in the enterprise grade traditional data center space. But no, I mean, our third site's coming along really nicely in North Bay. We're super pumped about that, and getting to that 3.35 exahash by the end of this quarter. That's a huge priority. You know, without saying anything I can't publicly say, you know, we're certainly evaluating opportunity with some of these newer entrants coming in the ASIC world, like Intel. We think that's really exciting. We're excited to see what they come out with and what those specs look like. So yeah, just, you know, focusing on both sides of our thriving business is the priority. And, you know, we raised 175 million in September, and we explicitly stated on our prospectus that, you know, some of these funds, you know, hopefully would be going towards M&A. So we are ready to go shopping. If things go a little sideways, which we could see happen, we do think there's going to be some consolidation that's going to happen in the space this year. So just because so many new entrants came in during this bull market, and companies that haven't really weathered a bear market yet and paid bull market pricing when Bitcoin was trading at sexy numbers, but now it's not. And so, look, we're cashed up and ready to go, and excited about our balance sheet first approach, to be honest, paying off so far. So
yeah, it's definitely, I mean, you guys have definitely earned your stripes. The way you guys entered, and then like, yeah, I mean, anyone that got in early, an early mover, had to pay the price of learning how to get agile, as you've now, but you're continuing that. Those lessons that you've learned through a bear market, I think is what's kind of been a sort of a guiding model, so that you're always sustainable.
for sure. But it also is, like I was saying earlier, it also is like just the maturation of the space. Like when you see Microsoft buying Activision because they want to have their stake in the metaverse and in the blockchain gaming NFT world. Ubisoft is making investments. It's exciting to be able to participate in what we think is tremendous upside, and obviously that's upside for our shareholders too. So
one other thing is in talking about business models, you guys are owner operators of your own data centers. Is there any consideration to look at utilizing hosting partners, or are you strictly focused on self-performing, vertically integrated?
We do have 2 hosting clients. So we are hosting, we are the Airbnb for about 12 and a half. I think it's actually a little under 12 and a half megawatts right now, is being put towards hosting. I think it's actually closer to about 11, but look, we're always evaluating, and we're lucky because we have so much power and sort of, we can play Jenga a little bit with our sites because we've been around for so long and we have these open air containers. So it's not like we just have one infrastructure that we're dealing with. We have quite a bit of mobility in terms of how we fit our containers. But no, for now, I don't think we would do that. But I don't know. I can't confirm or deny that we would never do that.
So what I mean though is, would you partner with another provider, another hosting provider, to give you, rack space, to expand operations, where you're not.
We prefer to own the infrastructure. We like that model much better, again, just because of the agility it provides you. But you never know. I don't have a definitive answer on that.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah. So nothing currently that you're looking at.
No, and I would say we're leaning towards no, but you never know. So.
Well, it plays more into the different strategies that are out there. As you know, Marathon with Peter or Fred Thiel is. I always get him and Peter mixed up.
Brothers?
No, he's commented on that, but no, he's not brothers with Peter Thiel.
That's funny.
But he's a big advocate for the Assetlight approach.
No, for sure. But Peter. Fred is a really smart guy. We love Fred. Yeah. We had dinner with him in New York in December. He's a really interesting guy. And Fred, so we love Fred. But we just think that the model makes more sense. Again, I hate to keep saying the word agility, but when you own the infrastructure, there's so much more that you can do versus, again, if the asset class that you're mining can't catch a bid or trade sideways, your ability to capitalize on additional opportunity that comes up is very limited. Like you're very single threaded. So
yeah, I look at it, it's much like everything in this space, Bitcoin and blockchain, this technology, it's everything you do, every choice you make comes with trade-offs.
Yeah.
And that is no different.
Well, that's a good way of looking at it, for sure.
So it's interesting how it's a form of game theory, and it's entirely what it reinforces this technology. Its security model is based off game theory. Yeah. But in the entire economy, the entire economics of this space, all come back to that. All fall back to these trade-offs that everyone must make, because you can't. You have to give something up to gain something else. Sure. It's just the way it works.
Yeah. And like I said, we're bullish on Bitcoin, but we're also bullish on blockchain and all the different use cases coming up.
So what else have we got? I guess any other exciting things that I might have overlooked or?
No, you know what? I think we covered everything, and I actually do have to get going.
Okay.
But it was so nice chatting with you, and yeah, happy to chat anytime. You know what? Maybe once we give the market a little better sense as to some of the ways that we're thinking about how we're going to play with this infrastructure, I can come back on and we can hash it out. No pun intended.
Yeah. Okay, before you go, one last thing. For the year, I guess I'm not asking for a price target or anything,
Okay.
but are you thinking, because you mentioned a few times potentially trading sideways, where's your head at for bull or bear going forward?
Okay.
I know long term you're a bull.
I'm a bull. Sue, not Hut 8. I have to give a disclaimer. This is not Hut 8's opinion. This is Sue's opinion. I'm a bear for sure for this quarter and for next quarter. I mean, if you call what we're in right now bear market, like again, I've been here since 20, which isn't even that old, but I've been working in blockchain when Bitcoin was at $3,000, right? So this is still.
So you're not the rally. You're not convinced yet.
I'm not convinced yet.
What price does it have to get to change your mind? New all-time highs or something before that?
You mean in terms of it change my mind that it's a bull market?
We're not in a bear market.
Yeah, I think new all-time highs. Breaking some resistance levels. Yeah, I think.
But that's why we hodl. So.
Exactly.
So you don't have to change your mind. You're already in.
Exactly. So.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate your time. It was fun.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Love your channel and happy to be back anytime.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Bye.